Guys, what's going on? My name is Ryan. I trade ETFs, and I like to make videos of the technical analysis that I'm seeing here in the markets today. Today, I'm doing a intra-week. I'm doing an intraday one. Usually, I just do all the sectors on the weekends, but I tend to like to look at ETFs that are moving and/or complicated midweek. And my favorite ETF is gold and GDX. So we're going to be looking at GDX today here, and we have some very complicated patterns that are going on that we're going to walk through. So let's zoom out to the daily just to get a little bit of a bigger picture of what we're seeing right here. Got this long-term resistance line. I go over the longer term and medium term charts a little bit more in my other videos. I'm just going to be briefly going over these. So basically we've been in this long-term downtrend and we've recently come into this slight upwards uptrend / bottoming pattern right here. And we're coming to a very important point in time, and there's an interesting little pattern that's going on here. So on the 2-hour chart, we can see that there are two potential patterns here. The first pattern is in this black bolded line, and it's a symmetrical triangle. And the second one is this descending triangle. Now, the price has been contained more accurately in the descending triangle, and therefore I'm going to be spending most of my analysis on that. But as far as this ABCDE here goes, this would be the pattern that I'm seeing. A, B, C, D, and E. It would be nice for the price to have come up and touched this black line and done full extension moves, and that's why I'm not accepting the symmetrical triangle as the true pattern and why I'm leaning towards this descending triangle. However, this 2-year resistance black line that we have started here in early 2016 has come into play into this pattern, and so it's still relevant to realize why price isn't coming to the ultimate low. We have a longer term time frame support level that runs right here all the way through. And it's very interesting to me to see that once this longer term support intersected with this descending triangle, that it was actually picked up by this support level instead of coming all the way down to touch the bottom of this blue line here like we have twice before. So let's go to the hour chart. So let's look at this on a hour time frame and get a better description for what the descending triangle is. So typically, volume should recede 83% of the time, and if the volume slopes upwards, the pattern performs better. Now, in my recent videos, I've been saying that volume hasn't receded all that much, but as the week began, we see that volume has started to die off a little bit, and this would be indicative and appropriate for the descending triangle pattern. We can see this black line right here is my moving average of volume, and right now it's down here, and I'm not sure if you can see the gray dotted line, but it comes right at the very bottom, and this is the last time that volume was this low on the chart. So we can definitely say, check that off in our triangle description. I've been waiting for volume to recede. Second part of the pattern is that the breakout typically occurs 64% of the move on its way to the apex. So the apex is where the support and resistance lines converge on each other. And if I extended these, it comes out to be right at this level, right about here. So this would be our apex point. And what I did is I measured this, and it ended up coming to 1,456 bars this way. So I just took 1,456 times 0.64, 64%, and it came out to 932. Then I drew another distance here, which came out to 932 bars, and drew this blue line. So this blue line is where I'm expecting price to start to break out on this descending triangle pattern. So third description, continuations. So prices that rise into the pattern break upwards 73% of the time. Because price started or bottomed out down here, and we rose up into the pattern, and then we did not come down to this previous low, this would be price rising into this pattern, and therefore we can check that off. That's our third check off. So trend, look for triangles with upwards breakouts near the start of an uptrend. So since we have been in a downtrend, I would say that this is the very bottom of that downtrend / the potential start of a new uptrend. So I've been waiting for a couple weeks now. We were able to check out the breakout, continuation, and trend descriptions of the descending triangle, but we haven't been able to check off the volume part of it for it to be a fully legitimate descending triangle. However, in the last 2 trading days, and I expect volume to continue to recede as we get closer to the bottom here, we can check off that volume has been receding. So from the hour chart, let's go to the 30-minute chart. On the 30-minute chart, I have 2 targets set in here. I haven't looked at this chart since my last video, but this is the 2-year resistance that was bolded in black on the 2-hour chart. It's just, I drew this in here just to show how well price has responded within this descending triangle pattern. So I was speculating and saying in my previous videos that we could come down and hit this 2-year support level and bounce up, and therefore my first target was right here, and I added a half position and we have since come up to test this overhead resistance. It's interesting to see these things play out when you analyze or do the technical analysis on a stock, because in my video, and of course we didn't have enough time, this price movement hadn't occurred at the time when I released my Sunday video, but I said that this overhead resistance might come into play here as we make our march down towards my target 2. My target 2 would be the ultimate target in the pattern. We see that we come up, set our first resistance, come down, set our first support. This is A, B, C, D, and E. And of course, E would be the completion of the descending triangle. And since it's a bullish descending triangle, as far as my description goes, we would expect price to break out right around the 64% mark. And so I was expecting us to come down and hit this target 2, but we have since been intercepted by this 2-year support line. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not we are supported for a second time on our march down here to our target 2 by this 2-year support again. Since we were intercepted by it once, it would be rational to believe that we would be accepted by it a second time on our way down. So let's go from the 30-minute to the 15-minute chart. The 15-minute chart kind of gave you can kind of see my thought process from my last video. Like I said, I haven't changed this a whole lot, but if we did ignore this resistance line from the highs here to the highs over here, and I drew it all the way through, but if this wasn't true, and of course this was just speculation at the time, and we continued to march higher, I said I would take profits right around here at the 23.6% resistance level. It's also nearing the top of this descending triangle, and we were running into resistance because over here we formed a brief area of consolidation. So price would likely pause here and or reverse. And we didn't make it up here, but I had it outlined that would be my plan, because I did take a position down here. And I said if we get rejected off of this, it's likely that we'll come back down to the 61.8% support level. Where did we get the support level? Well, we drew it from the lows over here to the swing highs, and it spits out all these numbers down here, and these are potential support and resistance zones in between our swing low and swing high. And we saw some rounding action take place here on the top, and this is always kind of a bearish signal. There are definitely certain situations when it's not cause for bearishness, but there are indicators we're all turning downwards. There's a divergence here as our CCI makes our high right here, comes down and makes a lower high, while price makes a high and a higher high. This is a regular divergence, and we began to roll over. And to me, on this chart, it kind of looked like a head and shoulders with the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder. And I drew this neckline right here to mark the breakdown point if this was a valid head and shoulders. And I guess we won't know if it was a head and shoulders or not, but this neckline was here in case it was. And once we broke below that, we can see that we had a dump to the downside. So let's go from the 15-minute to 5-minute. On the 5-minute, I speculated in my video that this might be a cup and handle pattern taking place here. And there's a lot going on in this chart, so let's just dive right into it. This blue dotted line, again, is our resistance. And we can see that we ran into that and began to roll over. This arrow was my prediction from my previous video. I speculated that we were going to come down into this circle. This would be a good entry point. Another decent entry point would be choosing this 2-year support line as the place to pick an entry here in GDX gold miners. Although I'm somewhat skeptical that we will come all the way back down to test this again, and instead we will come into this slightly higher channel, because it would be uncharacteristic of a cup and handle to come all the way back down to the previous lows. That would be a different pattern completely. But if we stop above the lows here, this would be a legitimate cup and handle with our handle coming out sideways like this. I'm not sure if you can see it in the video here, but this blue line is the cup, this would be the handle, and then it would be expected that we would rise up after breaking out of this 2280 range here. And for those Elliott wave traders out here, you can kind of see a pretty nice Elliott wave that we had. We had our impulse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we struggled to hold on to this 5, and we set in our A, B, and we are currently setting in our C. And C could be somewhere down here. My prediction was that we were going to fall, and we're definitely seeing some of that play out. So this might provide some potential trading ideas for the following days left in the week. Guys, I hope you liked this midweek video breakdown of the price action that's going on here in GDX. It's getting a little bit tight in here. Again, we're coming to the end of this pattern, and so unlike before where we had nice long swings to the upside with a lot of open space, we are coming into a period of time here where there's a lot of potential sideways movement that's taking place, and so it's getting harder to predict. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and I wish you the best of luck in trading GDX and gold. I'll be coming out with a gold video here soon after this. Thanks, bye.